mentioned just now the timing about the 180-day rule. Is that actually in practice? Because I know that sometimes the rules say have certain deadlines, and it seems like in practice they're not often followed. But in this particular one, can you comment on whether this is followed, this 180-day rule, which is Rule 50.02, sub 1?
Right. So you're right. In a lot of different areas of law, there's deadlines that aren't always followed.
Mm-hmm.
But in other areas of law, there's deadlines that are followed very vigorously. Right. So if you have a statute of limitations that gives you 2 years to sue somebody, or, you're not going to be extending that easily. Right. So
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to make it seem like the 180 days is not something to take seriously. It is. In my experience, there has been times where it's been varied, but that's in the Toronto region where things are very busy and some of the cases are a little complicated and they need that. I can't speak for other regions. Every different region in Ontario is going to do their process a little differently. So it's very important that you figure out how it's done in that region, and that's by checking the practice direction and checking the notices in that region. Speaking with your opposing counsel before you decide how seriously to take that 180 days. I would by default take it very seriously.
I noticed that 50.02 sub 2 says that if the party do not schedule the conference, the registrar shall do so. Shall do this. Does that really happen? Like the court will just really just take its own initiative and just, hey, you guys are not, you're almost like dragging your feet. We're just going to set the date for you guys to get to the pretrial. Does that happen? Really?
Yeah, something like that could definitely happen.
Oh, okay.
Again, I want to make sure that people really check the practice direction in their region, because there could even be stricter rules that the court takes in certain regions, where maybe they'll send you a letter and then next thing you know, they'll just knock you off the trial list. I don't know for sure if that happens. Maybe it used to happen, maybe it doesn't happen anymore, and maybe it'll happen in the future. But they can do those sorts of things on region by region through practice direction. So you want to make sure that you've really reviewed. If you're going to court in Bracebridge, or if you're going to court in Toronto, or if you're going to court in Ottawa or Kenora, they're all going to do this differently, and you have to check to make sure that you don't miss a deadline or you don't get yourself in trouble.
Dan, that's a really good point, because I think a lot of people don't realize how important practice directions are. I think they're really focused on the rules of civil procedure, and they think that's it. Well, the rules of civil procedure plus the case law, right? And then I know that as a junior coming out, like, what is this thing about practice directions? And, so for our viewers, I'm going to have a link below in the description to let people know where to go check the practice directions.
And in COVID, they've also been issuing notices that aren't practice direction. They're actually different. They call them notices to the profession, but they come with seriously important information about where to send your documents, because now you can't do it in person, so you got to send it to an email address, and here's the email address. It's in the notice, not necessarily in the practice direction, and how big they can be, and what you should include during COVID and what you shouldn't include. So there's a lot of different places you got to check to figure out, the rules and what you need to do.
Right. So we've got rules of civil procedure. We've got the case law that interprets them. We've got practice direction, and we've got notices to the profession.
Right. And I would throw in the Courts of Justice Act there.
Oh, and the Courts of Justice Act.
Just to add to the pile.
Right, the statute. Okay, so how can we forget it? So again, all this, of course, will be summarized in the description below.